So with this, I want to introduce the co-curator of this festival, who is Sudeep Sen, who is a poet, whom I know as a friend now. We have spent some time together. The magic of this festival was that it just happened because we just thought of it. And it was instantaneous and everything came together. For which we are not only grateful to God, but also to the people who created all of you. Thank you. I want to introduce Sudeep, who is he has prize-winning books including Postmarked India, New and Selected Poems, The Heart of Poets, Rain, Arya, The Heart of Poets Book of English Poetry, Fractals, New and Selected Poets, Translations, 1980-2005, London Magazine Editions, Text, Vintage Penguin, Random House, Kaifi, Azmi, Poems, Nazms, Bloomsbury, Anthropocene, Pippa Ran. Actually, it was his Anthropocene that connected me to him because he was doing it at the very center with Amish Tripathi. And somehow it was a time when I was doing nothing and I had nothing to do, so I heard you through. Enough poetry, and so I just got caught up. The government of India awarded him the Senior Fellowship for Outstanding Persons in the field of culture and literature. Sen is the first Asian honored to speak and lead at the Nobel Laureate Festival. What he has not written in his introduction is what I have heard in an introduction in the Alliance Literature Festival, that he is amongst the most powerful young poets that the country has and has gone over Columbia, etc., Howard, and the research all over. So with this, I invite you to introduce.
And I'm a bit distracted with the mutton cooking. We clearly didn't feed Sabine properly. I know what was happening last night. The boys were on a hunt of well-cooked, and they said the steak should be at least 5 inches. Well-cooked steak, but we failed even there. So I think you purposely picked that passage as a regressive gali back to us. We'll have to figure out some meat things. So I'll read from Fractals, which is New and Selected Poems and Translations from 1980 to 2015. That's a long time of writing life. You can do it because I don't have any ambition to win prizes and so on and so forth, because I write poetry. Who's interested in poetry? So you do it because you're passionate, you do it because you love it, you do it because words mean a lot to you. This particular poem is called Banyan, and it takes you to a part of Bengal where my paternal grandparents lived. The state called Bankura in West Bengal. Our families were divided during the partition. We had homes in Puripur in Bangladesh and Bankura. And this was the banyan tree which we used to play hide and seek around. And banyan tree is the most magical thing. It's just... So it's about memory, but it's about divisions, fractures. Banyan. As winter secrets melt with the purple sun, what is revealed is electric. Notes tune unknown scales, syntax alters tongues, terracotta melts white, banyan ribbons into armatures as branch roots twist, meeting soil in a circle. Circuits glazed on the clock carry alphabets for a calligrapher's nib, italicized in invisible ink, letters never posted, cartographer's map uncharted. As phrases fold, so do veils. Since I came from Delhi, which was 49 degrees, and landed in Bangalore, that day it had rained. It was 19 degrees. In a 3-hour flight, I lost 30 degrees. It's an astonishing flight to take, and we came out, the notoriously roaring and grumbling, and there was this moody, cumulonimbus-filled aura that was about to burst. But since here we are celebrating heat and sweat and dust, I will take you to the winters of Delhi, and it can get really cold because our homes are not heated. So that one little heater which moves around the house moves with the electricity, and then you follow it. Much like when I was growing up, for the longest time we didn't have air conditioning. Then, of course, parents had their air conditioning, so the bedroom became the hub for everything. You just pretty much lived there. This is called winter. It's secondary. Couch on crimson cushions, pink leaves gold, and red spills into one's heart. Broad leather keeps time, calibrating different hours in different zones, unaware of the grammar that makes sense. Only random hoofs and smalls of two distant dogs on a very cold night clears form that is unresolved. New plants wait for new heat to grow, to mature. An old cane recliner contains poetry for peace. Woven text keeping comfort in place. But it is this impatience of want that keeps equations unsolved. Heavy, vaporous, translucent, split red by mother tongues. Winter's breath is pink. So there was such a lot of dance in the morning, and I have been obsessed with dance for the last 35-40 years. My mother used to be a dancer, not a professional dancer. I grew up in a very typical Bengali family where people always shouted, screamed, ate vast amounts of food, drank a lot of alcohol, prayed a lot, and disagreed. So it was joviality to the point of end, to the point that I had to retreat, and I said, I need a quiet space. And being the eldest child, you're set with responsibilities and so on. But the dance and music part of my upbringing was wonderful because my grandparents knew poetry by heart. And it's just all dazzle and so on. So this is a poem from my next book. It's finally coming together after 35 years. It's called The Whispering Anklet, Fire. So the entire book is a response to classical Indian dance as well as music. This one is called Bharatanatyam Dancer. And for the musical-minded people, in fact, yesterday Shashank was looking at the poem and he said, this is set in Adi Tal. I said, how do you know? He says, I'm a musician. This is really? The way the poem is structured, initially when I wrote the poem, this is the story. So when you look at a dance performance of theatre, you have an XY axis in the preceding stage. And you imagine the depth, which is the Z axis. So I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if I watched the dancer from top? So during the rehearsals, I got onto the light grid and photographed this particular dancer and took negatives out of it. This is analog days, so the negatives had all the footmarks thermal mapped on the negative. When I looked at it and when I first saw the dancer dance, she was dancing to the tal and ball. Sorry, this is the tal and ball of modern life. So she was dancing to the tal and ball, ta dhinta tai thaita, ta dhinta tai thaita, ta dhinta tai thaita. So I said, why can't I write a poem using the same rhyme scheme? So I invented a rhyme scheme which is ABACCA, ABACCA, ABACCA. And that's the structure of the poem. All this is not important. nerdy, erudite crap. The reason I wrote the poem was when I saw this gorgeous dance on stage, I fell flat on my face and wasn't laugh. It was purely one-sided as life tends to be. But at least I wrote a poem for her. It's set in Kalakshetra where I spent some time. Bharatanatyam dancer for XXX. Spaces in the electric air divide themselves in circular rhythms as the splendid grace of your arms and well-tied ankles describe a geometric topography, real, cosmic, one that once reverberated continually in a prescribed courtyard of an ancient temple in South India. As your eyelids flit and flirt and match the subtle abhinay in a flutter of eyelashes, the pupils create an unusual focus. Sight, only ciliary muscles blessed and cloaked in celestial kajal could possibly enact. The raw brightness of Kanjivaram silk, of your breath, and the nobility of antique silver adorns you and your gowns, reminding us of the treasure chest that is only half exposed, disclosed just enough, barely, for art, in its purest form, never reveals more. Even after the arc lights have long faded, the audience now invisible has stayed over. Here I can still see your pirouettes, frozen as time-lapse exposures. Feel the murmuring shadow of an accompanist's intricate brow in this theater of darkness. A darkness where oblique memories of my quiet Kalakshetra days filter, matching your very own of another time, where darkness itself is sleeping light, light that merges, reshapes, and ignites, dancing delicately in the half-light. But it is this sacred darkness that endures, melting light with desire, desire that simmers and sparks the radiance of your quiet femininity as the female dancer now illuminates everything visible, clear, poetic, passionate, and ice pure. Thank you, very, very kind. I mean, people are not insomniacs here, clearly. I would try and avoid reading poems from this because I had a session in the evening which was going to concentrate on my new book called Anthropocene, which is on climate change, contagion, and consolation, which is hope. But I read a poem which, again, is very much located in Delhi, and it celebrates this wonderful, wonderful Japanese art of kintsukuroi or kintsugi, which is basically when a ceramic bowl or vase or any object breaks in Japan, the idea is if you stick it back using noble metal such as molten silver or gold, it is even more beautiful in its new avatar because of having been broken. So the fragmented, reunited beauty of a whole which was torn asunder has a completely new, higher meaning. It's dedicated to a potter friend of mine, Manisha Bhattacharya, who suddenly died. And she was teaching pottery to my son, and then 2 days later she was gone. And so her studio is on top of Barsati, hot Delhi. Kintsugi or kintsukuroi. The cracked bowl that I mean to repair every day keeps getting neglected by my secret awe of bone china, and its story of unbreaking. There were happier times when it stood perfect in its shape, its porcelain clay-fluted nape elegant as a swan's neck. I found it in a heap of beautiful pottery, one among many that its maker carefully crafted in a tropical rooftop studio. To me, it was new even after it accidentally slipped from my hand as I tried to wipe the Delhi dust that clung to us like camel brown film, like innocuous powder, transparent and deceptive like makeup. There are scenes I painted on its milk-white skin, words I wrote, lines etched in, fragments of poems left unfinished, hieroglyphic encoded secrets that only I knew and understood, impervious to gossip's glare and jealous chatter. Today, I should bring out superglue and try to make amends. Maybe I'll splurge on a rare metal, silver or even gold, to seal the cracks and fill them in with molten healing. Anointing it with gold, memory, love, and desire is better than the perfection of its prior shape. Unbroken, poised as it was, unhurt love is not necessarily purer than love that is flawed. Insupurui is a prayer that I have been granted. My bowl deserves the lacquer touch of a silver wish and the purest of rare gold. And I'm going to sacrifice 5 minutes of my time in order to keep pace with the time, especially because the session in the evening. I read a cooking poem. There are some fabulous food writers in India now. The only thing that matters is food and friendship. If the word got that straight, then it would have been so much easier. So this one is called Indian Dessert. It's a recipe. It was a bachelor poem written to seduce people. I was told that women love men who can cook for them. So if you cook for them, it's easier to date people. So this is a recipe poem. If you follow it to the T, you will get a cracking bowl of gajar ka halwa. You know, you don't have to go to a cookbook, just follow this. It's part of a series of erotic poems. About 15 years ago, I just thought that, we come from such a rich culture with Khajuraho and the immense tradition of erotic literature and poetry, that why are we so regressive as we are getting more modern and so on and so forth? Why are we having this problem? Then I said, let me take up this challenge as a man, because in the dance, I saw this the Rasika, the Rasik, the Naika, and that. I said, okay, let me be a modern man and write feminist erotic poetry. So this was the first one. And it's feminist because, my women friends love the poem, because they cook gajar ka halwa, which they couldn't before. They used food processors and things like that. Anyway, I'll end with this dessert. So mutton curry and gajar ka halwa will be a cracking way to finish. And slow cooked mutton curry, not the quick one. And you eat with your hands, dirty yourself. Indian dessert. Clumps of wet smoke simmer in the pan and slowly lift to caress the outline of your breasts as you cook, stirring spices in carrot, milk, and cream. Ingredients that conjure recipes of hunger and passion. As you melt sugar and butter, and gently stroke flakes of grated almond shaving. More clumps of perfume smoke permeate through the silk of your shirt, now transparent in heat, painting the outer circle of the nipples to a hardened edge, tasting the sweet skin, the surface of the crinkled base, to a creamed mouthful of untampered delicacy. The number of people who just put their parda down